Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word. Hey, we're going through Genesis right now, and we're going to be actually finishing not Genesis, but Genesis chapter 41 here. I want to conclude I'm going to read the last of that, but I'm going to spend the next two episodes talking about the two sons that Joseph had. Okay, he had in Egypt, and he names each of those sons because of what was happening in his life, which is very significant. A lot of the children were named that. If you remember, Jacob's other sons, the mothers were naming them, based on what was happening in their lives, okay? Even to the point that when Benjamin was born, Benjamin's mother said, hey, I'm going to name him son of my sorrow. And you're like, what a terrible thing to be, known for. You're growing up and it's like, oh, what's your name? Benjamin. Oh, what's that mean? Son of my sorrow. And you wouldn't even have to ask that. If you heard the name Benjamin, you'd be like, oh, son of my sorrow. Wonder what happened to cause all that. Okay. But, and I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. That's not correct, what I just said. Benjamin was not son of my sorrow. The name that she had given was, okay. But Jacob, after his mother died, said, no, that's not going to be her name, his name. It's going to be Benjamin. And Benjamin means son of my right hand. Okay. So Jacob stepped in and changed his name so the kid wouldn't grow up scarred with, oh, I'm the son of sorrow. Okay. No, it wouldn't be like that. But the significance of what we read today is Joseph names his two boys, and you're going to see what the names them and the significant about his life. Okay, so let's read today. We're going to focus on Manasseh today, which means forget. Tomorrow we're going to focus on Ephraim, which means fruitful. So today we're going to read Genesis 41 verses 46 to 57. All right, 46 to 57. All right, it says this: Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Oh, how about that? Who else was 30 years old when they entered the ministry? Jesus. Okay. He was the one of the people. All right. And when you became a priest, when did you go into service? When you were 30. Okay. So very significant about that 30 years old there. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. In each city he put the food. Joseph put the food grown in the field surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, much like the sand in the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Okay. A huge amount that was being stored up here. Verse 50, before the years of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, a daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, it is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. The second son he named Ephraim and said, it is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. And there was famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egyptians began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told the Egyptians, go to Joseph and do what he tells you. So remember, yesterday we talked about that. And Pharaoh has noticed Joseph has the gift of administration, and he's like, you need to go to Joseph. He's in charge of that. All right. Verse 56, when the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold the grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was so severe everywhere. Okay. So today I want to focus on Manasseh. And Manasseh, it is because God has made me forget all my trouble. And not only that, and all my father's household. Okay? If I'm Joseph, okay, and this would have happened like when he was, I think, about 17, when this happened, when his brother sold him into slavery. I could hold on to that and like, oh, whenever I get my hands on those brothers of mine, I am going to have my way with them. And that could harbor bitterness in his life all the way up. And he's 30 years old now, so a long time there. But Joseph has really forgiven, and he's forgot about that. Okay, so that's a huge, huge deal here for Joseph to let that go. And he one thing that helps is he's focused not on the bad things that happened in the past, but he's focused on he's got to help this country get where it needs to be. Okay, so really you won't have time to think about like, oh, my brothers, they sold me into slavery. I need to deal with them. You were focused on like saving the country of Egypt, and the surrounding lands. But the big thing here to look at today is this: that Joseph was forgiving, and then he forgot about it so much. I mean, that's a huge deal, to forget about the stuff that your brothers did to you. Now, I'm sure once his brothers came into the picture later on, okay, then he was like, oh yeah, my brothers did me wrong, and so then he dealt with it then. But it wasn't something he was dredging up from his memories every day. He was forgetting that. And we know that because he named his son Manasseh, which means to forget it. And it's obvious what he says about that. All right? So that's something we need to focus on too. And if we're going to harbor all that stuff, are we going to name our child, something like, oh, I'm going to get that guy because he did that to me? No, we're going to name our child forget. And we don't do that anymore, name our children because of what's going on in our lives. But that stuff still can play out, okay? If someone comes down there, sees you 20 years from now, and you're bitter about something that happened, 25, 30 years ago, they'll be like, you got a problem, okay? But if someone comes to you in this issue that happened 25, 30 years ago, and they go, hey, you remember that, that thing that time someone did you wrong? And you're like, yeah, now that you brought it up, I do remember it, but you're not dwelling on it. Okay, you've forgotten about that. So hopefully that's what we as Christians do. We're quick to forgive about that, and then we're involved with ministry and other things that we forget about that. We've got other things to move on to. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through Genesis right here. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.